Alright, against odds time, Ratlock in Modern. And we'll keep this. We got our Ether Vial, which is solid. What's our opponent up to? Human A. Noble Hierarch. Well, let's go Marsh Flats, sack Marsh Flats, get a Swamp, and Ether Vial. Pass the turn. Oh, okay, I don't know what this is. I was gonna say the 5-color human crazy deck, but... Sin Collector. Gonna take our Path to Exile, unfortunately. Alright, we get to put a counter on Ether Vial. Then we'll play Caves and just Ravenous Rats our opponent. Opponent discards a Hierarch. Overgrown Tomb. Untap down to 18. Oh, main deck Sin Collector. Collected Company. Main phase. Gets an Anafenza and a Hierarch. Well, the problem we're going to have is Anafenza. Opponent gets in with the Noble Hierarch. Down to 15. We get a counter on our Ether Vial. Cast a Ravenous Rats. Make our opponent discard. Then we vial a Rotting Rats. Make our opponent discard. We'll discard a Rotting Rats. Play Caves. Pass the turn. So I think our best bet here is to get another land for this Vault of the Archangel to let our rats trade off with our opponent's stuff. Also, instant speed stuff is good to make our opponent discard on their upkeep. Opponent gets in with both. Gonna put a counter on the Sin Collector. Well, let's double block. Get rid of Sin Collector. Then let's put a counter on Vial in case we draw a Displacer. There is a Displacer. Alright, so now we're kind of in business. Play Vault of the Archangel. That was a really good draw. I think we got to go greedy, though. We got to just pass. We got to hope our opponent goes to combat and doesn't have a big threat here. Mayor of Avabruck. Opponent goes attacking. So we violin our Displacer. Block and kill the Hierarch. And then blink the Anafenza. I guess we leave Vial on 3. Oh, that's another Displacer. Well, that was good drawing. What do we do here? I guess we just pass for now. Mayor of Avabruck's going to flip. I guess we let things go for now. Opponent finds a Thalia. Not all that relevant. Goes attacking. Alright, let's violin a Displacer. Double block the Anafenza. So we lose a Displacer. Opponent loses Anafenza, finally. And now we'll blink the Mayor of Avabruck. Pass the turn. No counter on our Vial. Chittering Rats is sweet. Well, let's attack with... let's not. Let's just pass. Pass the turn. Mayor flips. On our opponent's draw step, we Vial in Chittering Rats. Make our opponent put the card back on top of their deck. See what our opponent does. Attacks with Thalia. Alright, I guess we take it for now. And then blink the Mayor. Mayor flips. No counter. Another Displacer. Interesting. Well, let's get in with Displacer. Put our opponent to 14. Pass the turn. On our opponent's draw step, blink Chittering Rats. Card goes back on top of our opponent's deck. Opponent swings with everything. This works out. We get to violin a Displacer and trade off with this Mayor of Avabruck, which was making our lives miserable. Making our Displacer plan bad. Vial's going to stay on 3 still. Wow, we are good at drawing Displacers. So let's get in with everything. And we basically have our opponent hand-locked. Every draw step, we just blink Chittering Rats. They keep drawing the same card over and over. And since it's not an instant, they can't really do anything about it. So this is the Ratlock, the Chittering Ratlock. So I think we're going to win this game somehow. Well, because of the Ratlock. And because we drew a million Displacers. Opponent goes attacking. Alright, we drop to 1. We end of turn, Vial in a Displacer. Vial is going to say the same. Ooh, there's a Resto too. Well, that's even better, I think. So we attack with everything, except our Ravenous Rats. This forces our opponent to block. Oh, Resto's actually not that great here, because we don't have white mana. We need to tick up our Vial, but our opponent scoops it up! They know we can just blink Chittering Rats. Again. And the Ratlock, locking our opponent out of the game. Chittering Rats has to be even more depressing than just discarding there, because you know you're drawing the same card. At least with discard, you're like, all right, they got my card. Maybe I'll draw a Path or a Collected Company. Maybe they'll draw something that can get me out of this. With Chittering Rats, nope. You know you're drawing the same card every single time. So good. So incredibly good. We got lucky to draw the right cards in a row, but still. That was pretty sweet. Go down an Inquisition for Grafdigger's Cage and try it like that. Okay, we got rats. The problem is we don't have actual mana. If we draw any land, though, and we're on the draw, then this hand is fine. Pretty much where we want to be. Noble Hierarch for our opponent. Land, please. Oh, Displacer. All right, well, we get one more draw at it. Double Fetid Heath is a little risky. We need them for Displacer, though. Windswept Heath for our opponent. Cracks it. And Champion of the Parish. Oh, dear. Double Champion of the Parish. Displacer is good against Champion of the Parish. Oh, my God. Well, this is like the nut draw. Land? So slow. Well, now we're in a lot of trouble. Probably dead. Sin Collector. Yeah, I don't think there's a way we can win from here. So let's just... I mean, our opponent had the nut draw on the play, and we didn't have colored mana. Maybe bring in one more Damnation, I guess. Well, Inquisition is better on the play. I guess we gotta go down Ink Eyes. Try it like that. Alright, we get to play first. So let's just Marsh Flats, crack Marsh Flats, get a Swamp, and Vial. Pass the turn. Double Rotting Rats is a bit awkward. Might have to discard one to another. Opponent also has a Vial. Well, we get a counter on our Vial. Draw a Swamp. Let's play a Plains and just Rotting Rats. Discard a Swamp. A little risky to discard a land, but we don't really go above 4 lands, so I don't think it's too bad. And pass the turn. Opponent ticks up their Ether Vial. Cavern of Souls goes with a Thalia. Not that great. Vial ticks up. We get a Godless Shrine, so Godless Shrine untapped. Cast a Chittering Rats, and pass the turn. I think we're going to wait on this Rotting Rats. Next turn, we might be able to not have to discard for it, which would be good. Vial ticks up for our opponent to 2. Opponent goes to combat, and passes. Okay. Vial's going to stay on 2 this turn, I think. Well, let's Chittering Rats, make our opponent skip their next draw. Godless Shrine, tapped. And I think we're actually going to attack with this Rotting Rats because we kind of want it to die. Opponent does not oblige. Alright, pass the turn. We can Vial in Rotting Rats whenever. Opponent takes up Vial to 3. Vial's in a Tireless Tracker. Plays a land. Tireless Tracker is good against us. Cracks Verdant Catacombs. Gets a Godless Shrine. Untapped. Down to 16. Cracks a Clue. Well, now we want to Path to Exile. Opponent decides to pass. Alright, let's Vial in our Rotting Rats. Make our opponent discard. Vial's gonna tick up to 3. Let's attack with our Rotting Rats. Opponent takes it. Ravenous Rats, make our opponent discard. Pass the turn. Gavany Township for our opponent. Gets a Clue. Alright, opponent gets in. Hits us 4-4. Sacks a Clue. Man, getting rid of Tireless Tracker would be so helpful. Sacks a Clue. Alright, we take 6. Down to 11. Opponent passes. We're going to leave Vial on 3. Oh, is it worth it? Oh, we actually can't even Damnation yet. We need a land. Well, let's get in for one. Opponent decides to block now. Interesting. Well, let's pass the turn. Vial's in. A Fiend Hunter. That's actually good for us. Gets rid of a Chittering Rats. If we can just go land Damnation, then we get back a Chittering Rats in the process. That's excellent. Opponent plays a Ghost Quarter. Gets a Clue. Oh, these clues. Auriok Champion. This is just like every random human ever. Well, this makes our choice easy. We double block Thalia, chump Tireless Tracker. And this actually frees up our mana for the Damnation, even if we don't draw land. Alright, Thalia down. Means our Damnation's online. Opponent passes. Vial stays on 3. Alright. Oh no. Our opponent has Sin Collector? Wow. Well, that was a perfect draw for our opponent. Jeez. Are we going to lose because of that? Alright, there goes Damnation. Wow! Man, we had our opponent too. That was likely game. Problem is they can start activating Township. Let's pass. Sin Collector, not good against us. Opponent cracks a clue. Well, get rid of the Fiend Hunter. Oh, what a disappointing loss. Damnation and Path was likely good game. Opponent leaves Vial on 3. Cracks their clue. Cracks a clue, making sure to leave up all colorless mana for some reason. Mayor of Avabruck. Sure. Gains our opponent a life. Well, we gotta draw a Damnation here. Oh, this is disappointing. And that does it. Alright, against the odds time. Playing some Ratlock in Modern. And we'll play first. And, alright. This is ratty. We got some rats. And a couple lands. So, Godless Shrine tapped. Pass the turn. Uh-oh. Urza's mine. Okay, let's see how fast our opponent is. Well, we get a swamp. So let's just play the swamp and Ravenous Rats. Make our opponent discard. Oh, they pitch a Gaia Reach Sanitarium. Opponent cracks Chromatic Sphere. Star. Sphere. Plays another mine. And passes. Ooh, there's Displacer. We don't have the mana for it yet. Well, let's Ravenous Rats number 2. Make our opponent discard a card. And Oblivion Sower. Let's get in with our Ravenous Rats. Opponent down to 19. Marsh Flats and go. Eldrazi Temple for our opponent. And there's a Thought Knot. Let's see what our opponent takes. Well, our opponent's down to 4 cards. Not that far away from the actual lock. Goes with Displacer. Well, let's crack Marsh Flats. Get a Godless Shrine. Tapped. Draw a Shambling Vents. Well, let's Chitter. Make our opponent put a card on top of their deck. Shambling Vents, go. Ooh, another Tron piece. Opponent passes. We draw a Chittering Rats. Well, I think we just use a Resto here to blink and make our opponent discard. Forest. And there's an Oblivion Sower. Gets, geez, 3 lands? Oh my god. That's not good. Also very big. Well, let's Restoration Angel. Blink. Ravenous Rats. Make our opponent discard a card. Ink Eyes, we don't have the mana for yet. We're 1 short. So I think we just have to Chittering Rats, unfortunately. Opponent puts their last card on top of their deck. Might as well get in with Resto. If we can start reanimating things with Ink Eyes, what does our opponent have now? Worldbreaker, maybe? Opponent goes to combat and just passes. Oh, they must have like an Ulamog. We really need to make them discard. Caves of Koilos. Alright, I think this works. So we play Caves of Koilos. We attack with Restoration Angel. Wait till after blocks. Then we can ninjutsu in our Ink Eyes. We get to reanimate a Thought Knot Seer and get rid of our opponent's last card. Which was a Kozilek. Alright. And pass the turn. So we kind of have Ratlock activated. Our opponent gets a draw here. Hopefully it's nothing too crazy. They play a land. Alright. So we were pretty close to Ratlock. Oh, there's a Displacer. We need a land though. So we stop on our opponent's draw step and pass the turn. Opponent draws. If we get 1 more land, we have the hard lock. Blink a Ravenous Rats. Opponent discards a Sylvan Scrying. Come on, land for Displacer. 1 time. There it is. Displacer. Ratlock achieved. So we keep getting in with the flyer. And now we just blink a rat on our opponent's draw step every turn. Oh, and our opponent scoops it up. Ratlock overpowered. Oh, that should not be working. Well, we need Fulminator Mages against this deck. Fulminator Mage Mimic Vat. That's a combo too. Go down Inquisitions. Oh, and I guess the Marrow-Gnar is going to have to go on this one. And try it like that. Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of our rats are Rotting Rats, which makes us discard 2. Urza's Tower, and Expedition Map. Well, Swamp, go. So I guess the question is going to be, can our opponent get down something huge before we get them? Oh, no. Well, they're going to have Quick Tron. Let's Caves of Koilos and Ravenous Rats. Opponent cracks Expedition Map. We'll see what kind of Haymakers our opponent can cast next turn. They discard Gyre Reach Sanitarium. And nothing off their Tron mana. Well, let's get in with our Ravenous Rats. Play a Rotting Rats. Discard a Rotting Rats. Opponent discards a Tron piece. Oh no. Oh no. That's scary. Well, they have 10 mana. This probably means something huge. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. Well, so we have a turn or two to draw a path, assuming our opponent doesn't have anything else going on. Get a Godless Shrine. Caves of Koilos. Let's get back our Rotting Rats. Discard a Restoration Angel. Man, our opponent had so many Tron pieces. Kind of unfortunate. Jeez, so many Tron pieces. Alright, our opponent just had mono what they wanted that game. And they were on the play, and we didn't draw any land destruction or anything. Yeah, I think we just run it back. Alright, we get to play first. Path and nothing? No rats at all? I don't think we can keep this. Alright, well, we need to scry into a land, but Fulminator Mage is good. Dismember is not super helpful. Caves go. Still no rats. This is still an awkward draw. But Fulminator Mage could be good. Chromatic Star for our opponent. While Vault of the Archangel was not the land we were looking for. Opponent cracks the star. Adds green. Ancient Stirrings, looking for Tron pieces. So we need black mana to kill a Tron piece. Gets an Urza's Mine. Casts Urza's Mine. We kind of need it right here. Chromatic Sphere. There it is. Alright, so untap Black Source. Fulminator Mage. And we're just going to get rid of the Urza's Mine. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks the Sphere. And Needles, probably our Displacer. Do they have more Tron pieces? Wow, they don't have a land? Well, let's just cast Eldrazi Displacer, play a Shambling Vent, pass the turn. So we kind of just want to kill our opponent before they draw lands, hopefully. They get another tower. Well, Vault of the Archangel, get in with Displacer. And we're just going to start casting Restos and hope that that gets there. Eldrazi Temple, let's Restoration Angel. Sure, we'll blink it, why not? Let's attack with both. Put our opponent to 11, tap land, and we actually might have lethal next turn. Resto, activate Shambling Vent, that could win us the game. Tower for our opponent. Well, let's see if they have removal. Resto number 2, sure. No rats, but well, let's play Caves. Fire up Shambling Vents, see if our opponent can kill any of our stuff. Swing with the crew, and that does it. All right. Oh, rats! Ratlock, getting it done. So we won with the hardcore Ratlock game 1. Opponent had Instatron in game 2, and then turn 3 we didn't even draw a rat, but we managed to beat Tron. Oh, all right, not the way we drew it up. No locking, but still a win's a win. All right, against the odds time, playing some Ratlock in Modern. And we'll keep this a little land heavy, a little rat light, but we can make do. We have a Displacer, which is good. Sacred Foundry, untapped. Oh boy, and Swift Spear. I don't know about this. Alright, Chittering Rats. Well, let's Swamp and Short Fang. Pass the turn. I don't know if Burn is one of our better matchups, especially before boarding. Arid Mesa for our opponent. Lava Spike, down to 16. Gets in for 2 and passes. Well, let's get in for 1. Play a Plains, play a Chittering Rats. Unfortunately, the fetch land is going to let our opponent shuffle away the card they put on top. The only good news is we're building towards a Vault of the Archangel, which could shift this math if we live long enough to vault and start gaining life. Tap Sacred Foundry. Opponent does shuffle away the Chittering Rats card. Opponent goes attacking. Well, let's block with Chittering Rats. Helix our face. Alright, down to 11. Opponent passes. Well, let's play a Ravenous Rats. Make our opponent discard a card. Play a Fetid Heath. Opponent discards a land. And pass the turn. Probably going to have to block with Short Fang and make our opponent discard. Arid Mesa. Opponent cracks it. Riftbolt suspended. Opponent goes attacking. Well, on second thought, maybe we just block with Ravenous Rats, because we're going to get our opponent empty-handed anyway. Make our opponent discard a card. Opponent Lightning Bolts our face, and Shard Volleys our face. All right. So we drop to 5. Flip. Well, let's play Caves. Eldrazi Displacer. Basically, we need to fade a burn spell for 1 turn. Opponent drops to 12. Rift Bolt. So we need our opponent to whiff here. If they whiff here, we just win. There's Rift Bolt. Let's see what they draw. Down to 2. Oh! Ho, ho! All right. Well, 1 turn away. That's disappointing. We were very close to just winning that game, actually. Well, good news is we get 3 Ley Lines of Sanctity, go down some of our more expensive rats, and a Dismember, and try it like that. Alright, this isn't a great draw, but it's okay. So let's Caves of Koilos and Ether Vial. Pass the turn. Double Ether Vial is not exactly what we want. 1 is good, 2 is kind of a mulligan. Opponent cracks Bloodstained Mire, and there's a Swift Spear. Gets in 4-1. Well, let's tick up our Vial. Another Resto. Well, play a Vial, play a Shambling Vents, pass the turn. Mountain for our opponent. Lava Spikes are face down to 16. Lava Spikes are face down to 13, down to 10 from the Swift Spear. Well, let's tick up our Vials. Ugh. Never want to draw the 3rd Vial. Well, let's take Boros Charm, play another Ether Vial, pass the turn. Arid Mesa for our opponent. Gets in 4-1, down to 9. Suspends Rift Bolt. Well, let's Vial in a Ravenous Rats. Make our opponent discard. Probably a land. Yep, Wooded Foothills. Tick up all 3 Ether Vials. Alright, let's pass the turn. Let's see what our opponent targets here. Targets us. So in response, we're going to Vial in a Chittering Rats. And opponent has Skullcrack. Oh, no! Alright. Well, we could just be dead again. Down to 3. Opponent goes attacking. Well, we block. Tick up our Vials. Let's attack with Chittering Rats. Vial in a Restoration Angel. Blink our Chittering Rats. Pass the turn. Vial in a Rotting Rats. Make our opponent discard. Alright, it was a Searing Blaze. Unfortunately, this means we lose our Restoration Angel, which is bad. Opponent passes. We're going to leave our Vials the same. Well, we draw land, get in with Restoration Angel, pass the turn. Dead to a lot of things. Goblin Guide is not one of those things. Opponent attacks with both. We have a Path to Exile on top. We got a trade with the Goblin Guide. Oh, so close. Well, get in with the Restoration Angel. Put our opponent to 8. Opponent draws. And there's the draw. Alright, against the odds time, playing some Ratlock in Modern. And this isn't insane, but we'll keep it. Horizon Canopy and Glade Cover Scout. Oh, my lord. Well, this is going to be very difficult. We don't have removal for Boggles. There's a Rancor for our opponent. Gets in for 3. Let's Marsh Flats, crack Marsh Flats, get a Swamp, and Ravenous Rats. Make our opponent discard a card. Opponent discards Spirit Mantle. We're really hoping they whiff on a land here and don't have any more 1-mana stuff, and then Chittering Rats will be very good. Ethereal Armor, pumps up Glade Cover Scout. Opponent gets in for 5. This might just be an unwinnable matchup, honestly. We're not built for this deck. Another Displacer, not exciting. Well, let's crack this, get a Swamp, and Chittering Rats. Make our opponent put a card back. And might as well get in for 1. The combo of Rancor and Ethereal Armor just means blocking is incredibly hard for us. And a Hyena Umbra. Yeah, I don't think we have anything we can draw. So our opponent gets in for 7, and I think we're just dead here. We don't really have an Edict effect. Alright. Well, I mean, that's Boggles. We don't even really have any sideboard cards for this matchup. We have a Disenchant and 2 Damnations. Not guaranteed to get the job done. Go down Marrow-Gnawer, Ink Eyes, and Dismember. Alright, I guess we just try it like this. But I don't think this is a good matchup. Well, this is nice just because we got Inquisition. And Boggles does not have many creatures. So if we can just Inquisition their 1 creature, that's the way we win. It means we don't get to Ether Vial on turn 1, but that's the price we pay. Marsh Flats, crack it, Swamp, and Inquisition. Come on, 1 creature. Alright, Glade Cover Scout down. So now our opponent has no creatures. They're pretty much just hoping to draw into creatures. Windswept Heath, and opponent passes. Well, let's Fetid Heath and Ravenous Rats. Make our opponent discard. Discards a land. If our opponent doesn't get a creature here, Chittering Rats is going to be awesome. Oh, opponent's going to go on the Dryad Arbor plan. Problem is that's not a Boggle. It is not hexproof. Temple Garden, untapped. There's a Spider Umbra. On the Scoops 2 Displacer plan. Gets in for 2. Ooh, that's a path. Let's just Godless Shrine, untapped. Chittering Rats. Make our opponent put a card back. No Boggle for them next turn. Get in with Ravenous Rats. And pass the turn. Plains for our opponent. Rankers up the Dryad Arbor. No attacks. We draw Damnation. Well, let's just path the Dryad Arbor. And now we just gotta win before our opponent draws Boggles and enchantments. Get in for 3. Opponent's down to 16, or down to 13 from 16. Ether Vial, and go. Do they find a Boggle? Tap land, and passes. Well, we tick up our Ether Vial. A land for Resto, there we go. So we get in with both, and now I think we got it. Because our opponent's going to be drawing the same card again. Resto, go for the Ratlock, and our opponent scoops it up. Chittering Rats. I still don't think we can beat this deck on the draw, though. We really need to be on the play on this matchup and have Inquisition. Run it back. Our opponent keeps, so they got a Boggle. We can't keep this. Well, we get a Scry. Put a land to the bottom. Still don't think this is going to work. There's a Glade Cover Scout. Marsh Flats, go. Wooded Foothills for our opponent. Cracks it. Temple Garden, untapped. Wow. Gets in for 1? They must have Spirit Dancer. There's Spirit Dancer. So we crack this. Now we kind of have a chance. Get a Plains and just path Spirit Dancer. Our opponent probably still has Boggles in their hand, but this is way better than I expected. Opponent gets a land. We get to play a Swamp, Ravenous Rats, make our opponent discard a card. Discards a path. We pass. Opponent has a Spirit Mantle. And an Ethereal Armor. That's not good. So we take 4. Now we basically have to draw Damnation, like soon. Down to 14. We get to Chittering Rats. Not that it's super helpful here, but get in with Ravenous Rats. Put our opponent down to 13. I just don't think we can race this. And a Hyena Umbra. Up to a 6/6. Alright, well, that's the game. I mean, that's Boggles. And we're not really set up for beating Hexproof. Alright, against the odds time, playing some Ratlock in Modern. Temple of Enlightenment. Well, Godless Shrine tapped, pass the turn. Yeah, I don't know about this. Lotus Bloom, ticking down. Sleight of hand for our opponent. Yeah, Ad Nauseam, gonna be a problem. Well, Marsh Flats, go. We kept the removal hand, which is not where we want to be against this deck. Lotus Bloom comes down next turn. Plays a land. Plays Phyrexian on life. Well, let's crack Marsh Flats. We're likely just dead next turn. Godless Shrine tapped. Swamp and Chittering Rats. We just have to hope our opponent doesn't have anything. Seems unlikely. If they don't have anything, then Resto Chittering Rats is good. Pass the turn. Here comes Lotus Bloom. So our opponent has all the mana in the world. Serum Visions. Bottom. Tap land. And passes. Alright. Well, we get in with Chittering Rats. Play Caves of Koilos. Stop on our opponent's upkeep. Restoration Angel. Opponent. Wow, goes Pact of Negation. Interesting. Does that mean they just win here? We bottom both. Spoils of the Vault. Finds Ad Nauseam. And that does it. Interesting. Alright, well, we get Stony Silence, Disenchant, Leylines of Sanctity, and maybe Fulminator Mages. Go down Dismember, go down Path to Exile, completely dead cards. And I guess Fulminator Mages are probably better than our big rats here. And just try it like that. Well, we got some Rotting Rats. That's kinda something. Shambling Vent, go. Opponent has a Lotus Bloom. And a Seachrome Coast. Passes. Well, Caves of Koilos. And let's just Rotting Rats. Discard a Caves of Koilos. Opponent pitches Unlife. Pass turn. Lotus Bloom ticking down. Darkslick Shores for our opponent. Well, Caves of Koilos, get in with our Rotting Rats. And then let's just Eldrazi Displacer. Pass the turn. Bloom ticking down. Has the Plains. Has another Phyrexian on life. Well, let's play the Swamp. Play a Ravenous Rats. Make our opponent discard. Pitches Simian Spirit Guide. Rotting Rats. Make our opponent discard. We gotta pitch our Mimic Vat. Opponent discards a land. Well, we get in with both. But we're most likely just dead because our opponent had Lotus Bloom. If they didn't have Lotus Bloom, this hand probably was good enough with the blinking. But Lotus Bloom just gives our opponent too much mana. And it looks like they just had the nuts. Yeah, alright, they had every combo piece in their hand. Sometimes it happens. Alright, against the odds time, playing some Ratlock. Ugh. In Modern. No rats. We got a lock, but no rats with it. Best turn. Oh no, not discard. Please not discard. Watery Grave. Untapped. And Inquisition of Kozilek. There goes our Displacer. Oh, alright. I guess they have removal for our Displacer. We will keep drawing lands, like Caves of Koilos. Pass turn. Blood Crypt. Tapped. And a Delver of Secrets. Well, crack this. Get a Godless Shrine. Well, let's get a basic Swamp. Well, Fetid Heath and Chittering Rats. Make our opponent put a card on top of their deck. Ironically, this probably helps them flip Delver. Oops. Delver of Secrets flips with the Spell Pierce. We let them put on top of their deck. Gets in for 3 with the Delver. And passes. Only 2 lands. Let's get in with Chittering Rats. Play a Displacer. Godless Shrine. Tapped. Pass the turn. If we untap with Displacer, we get to flip the Delver back around, which is good. Also, Ratlock. Well, let's attack with both. Snapcaster Mage. Targets Inquisition. Blocks Chittering Rats. Alright, this means we need to blink Chittering Rats. Make our opponent put a card on top of their deck. Opponent takes 3. Shambling Vat and pass the turn. Next turn we actually have double blink available, which is pretty good if our Displacer lives. Opponent gets in with both. Puts us down to 8. And passes. Inquisition. Well, let's just attack with Chittering Rats. Opponent plays a Snapcaster. So many Snapcasters. Blocks Chittering Rats. Well, let's blink our Chittering Rats. Opponent puts a card on top. Get in for 0. Play Caves of Koilos and pass the turn. Opponent attacks with everything. Well, let's block a Snapcaster and then blink the Delver. Take 2, drop to 6. Opponent passes. We get a path. Let's Inquisition, see what's in our opponent's hand. Spell Pierce, Kolaghan's Command, and Big Things. Well, let's take Kolaghan's Command. We're not in danger of losing. Let's play Vault of the Archangel. Get in with Chittering Rats. Well, we just got to keep the Ratlock going. So, blink our Chittering Rats. Opponent puts a card on top. And I guess we just pass for now. Opponent doesn't flip the Delver. I think they were expecting double Chittering Rat activations. They do get to play a Tasigur here. There's Tasigur. Well, let's blink Chittering Rats. Opponent puts a card on top. There's a Short Fang. So play Marsh Flats. Crack Marsh Flats. Go to 5. Get a Swamp. Play Short Fang. And pass the turn. Opponent flips Delver with the Spell Pierce. Attacks with Delver. And Tasigur. And Snapcaster. So we block Snapcaster, block Tasigur. Then we blink. I think we got this on lock. We blink our Chittering Rats. Opponent puts a card on top. Then we blink the Delver. Get rid of the Snapcaster. And our opponent scoops it up! Ratlock! We Ratlocked him! Chittering Rats. Displacer. Opponent never got past 2 lands. So good. So good. So against this deck, we probably want our other Dismember. Let's go down to Inquisition. And we might just have to go down Maronar for... Maybe we do want the Ley Lines of the Void, honestly. What do we go down? Well, Ink Eyes doesn't work if we have Leyline, and then the second Inquisition? Actually, let's keep it Inquisition, go down to Short Fang. Let's try it like that. Ooh, alright. This hand's actually really good. We start with a Leyline of the Void. We have removal, got some rats, got an Ether Vial. Gonna lose something. There's Inquisition. Takes rat number 1. Now, Caves of Koilos and Vial. Pass turn. Bloodstained Mire. Cracks it. Steam Vents. Untap down to 15. And Turn Visions. Bottoms both. Passes. Counter on Ether Vial. Another Leyline's not super exciting. Pass the turn. We need some rats. Opponent has a Dark Confidant. Well, tick up our Ether Vial. Kill the Dark Confidant down to 18. Opponent's kind of stuck on lands again. But so are we. But we got an Ether Vial. Tick up our Vial. There's a Godless Shrine. So Godless Shrine tapped. And pass the turn. Thought Scour. Milling us. Opponent finds their land. Cracks Bloodstained Mire. Gets a Swamp. Kolaghan's Command. 2 damage. Destroy Artifact. Well, we need to Vial in our Displacer. Hope we draw a land for Resto. Ugh, we draw a Resto. Well, get in with Displacer. Opponent's down to 11. Opponent draws another land. Bolt. Alright, let's path our Displacer. We want another land. Get a Swamp. Opponent cracks Delta. Gets an island. Thought Scours. Oh, they're milling us. Ooh, 2 Rotting Rats. That's pretty sweet. Opponent passes. We get a Rotting Rats. Well, let's pass for now. Another land for our opponent. Young Pyromancer. And passes. Well, let's run out a Restoration Angel. Get in with Restoration Angel. Put our opponent down to 7. Cast a Rotting Rats. Discard Leyline of the Void. Opponent goes with Thought Scour, so in response, we're going to path Young Pyromancer. I think we might have it. Ratlock. Opponent gets a token, which is fine. Thought Scours, sure. We make our opponent discard. We discard the second Leyline. And pass the turn. Opponent has a Dark Confidant. Risky. Kolaghan's Command. Ooh, gets rid of our Resto and our Rotting Rats. And gets in for 1. Well, get back our Rotting Rats. Attack with both. Put our opponent to 3. Alright, opponent, what can you do? Dark Confidant flips a Thought Scour down to 2. They gotta deal with our Resto, or they're dead. Thought Scours. Serum Visions. And even if they deal with Resto, they also gotta not die to their own Dark Confidant. Bottoms both. And they scoop it up. Ratlock taking down Grixis Delver. Sweet. So wrap up time for Ratlock in Modern. And overall the deck was sweet. So our record was only okay. We finished out with 2 wins in our 6 matches, so about 33%. Also ended up with 6 game wins out of 15 total games, so about 40%. So the percentages were not insane, but our deck actually functioned really well, so I was super happy about that. Like, we actually did what we wanted to do, and we ratlocked people fairly consistently, and ratlocking someone was super awesome, especially with Chittering Rats, where our opponent was just drawing the same card over and over and over again. So sweet. That has to be one of the most annoying ways to actually lose the game, because if you're just discarding the card, that's one thing. Yeah, it's annoying, but you still have a chance to draw an instant. But can you imagine the one card you have is a land, and you have to just keep putting that land back on top of your deck, and then drawing it, putting it back on top of your deck? That has to be just such a frustrating way to lose. So that part was awesome. And I think part of the problem is we ran into some matchups that we just weren't very prepared for. So we beat Eldrazi, we beat Grixis Delver, and we got incredibly close to beating the Abzan Humans deck. Really, they had one card that really mattered there, where they had the Sin Collector to take our damnation. If it wasn't for that, and I gotta imagine that Sin Collector is like a 1 of, maybe a 2 of, so not a focal point of the deck. So I think it was a little unfortunate, but we were really close in that match. The matches where we did not do especially well were Boggles. We just don't have stuff to deal with Boggles. I expect that we would lose that matchup almost every single time. Ad Nauseam, our deck is sweet And I think if they missed on their Lotus Blooms, we'd have a chance. But with them having a Lotus Bloom both games, they just are a turn or two too fast. We even had the Ratlock set up one game, but with Lotus Bloom, they had enough mana they could combo off before we could get them empty-handed and really lock them. The good news is they don't really have good ways of interacting with what we're doing, so if we can get the lock set up early enough, we'd be able to win. So I think that's really a hit or miss matchup, and they just kind of drew their important cards. And then Burn, also questionable. I think it's not as bad as it ended up looking in the videos, just because discarding cards is pretty annoying for Burn. You really need a critical mass of burn spells, but we just couldn't quite pull it off. So I think we ran into some rather difficult-ish matchups, but still, apart from like fast combo decks and really aggressive decks, I think we have a decent shot with this deck, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So it was really fun. It was really cool. It plays on a different level. We got to play a lot of neat rat cards, so overall I'm happy with it, even though our record was kind of middling. Not one of the, oh my god, this was so good for an against the odds deck, but also not bad either. So between 30 and 40%, depending how you break it down. But anyway, that's been our against the odds for this week. Ratlock in Modern. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.